In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the feedback tools that are available in Turnitin.com. So if you have assigned your students a Turnitin.com assignment, whether it be via Schoology, like I'm going to demonstrate through here, or just Schoology on the website itself, you have a number of tools that you can use to leave feedback for your students and also view their similarity index. So we're going to look at an example here. I'm going to go to one of my Turnitin.com assignments where I have had a mock student submit a paper, and we're going to take a look at some of the tools that are available. So the feedback tools that are available, when you start leaving feedback in all the different ways that are available to you, those changes will be saved and your students will be able to see any of the feedback based on the date of your feedback release date when you set up the paper. So we'll just take a look at that before we even go into feedback tools. So if I click on this wheel next to my existing assignment where my students have already submitted a paper, I can see here the feedback release date right now is set to this date. If I wanted to make that available, let's say because the due date is on June 2nd, maybe I want to give myself a few days to grade everybody else's, I may change that feedback date to a few days after. And then once I've done that, I'm going to click submit so that these changes are saved so that I can have some time and not certain students are going to be able to see their feedback before others. So now let's go back over to my assignment inbox so we can look at the feedback options. So I have one student that has submitted their assignment through this Turnitin.com assignment, and I'm going to click on their similarity index so that I can open up this feedback viewer. So in this feedback viewer or feedback studio, you're going to see a number of different tools over here on the right hand side. Up, you're going to see the student's name, you're going to see the name of the document that they submitted, and you'll also have an option here to give a grade. If you had more students that had submitted, you would be able to navigate to the next submission by using these arrows or clicking on this drop down and clicking on a specific student's name. So let's start over here at the very top of these different tools. Now any of these tools, if you are unsure what they are and you just hover your mouse on them, it'll tell you exactly what they are. So quickmarks are different little drop down pre-created little tools that you can use to drop directly on somebody's paper. So right now we are looking at a category of commonly used quick marks that we could drag and drop directly on a paper. So if you wanted to look at some of the other available categories of different types of quick marks, you can click on this drop down and you will see some other ones. So for example, if I go over here to usage, you're going to see some other tools here as well, run-on sentence, etc. If you don't see one listed or you don't want to go through all of the different categories, you can just start typing in what the drop down, whatever the feedback is that you want to leave for the student, and it should start to populate if it has it in its library. And then all I need to do is drag it and drop it to the paper wherever I want it to go. So this is the quick marks tool. Let's go down to the tool below it over here, the feedback summary. So if you want to leave feedback, overall feedback for the paper, you have two options. You can leave a voice comment here. You can record it. If you don't like the recording at first, you do have the ability to delete it. You also have a text box here where you can type and leave specific feedback for the student in the text box. And again, all these changes are going to be automatically saved. And remember, we changed the feedback release date, so students would not be seeing this yet. They wouldn't see it until the date and the time that I set for feedback release. Beyond feedback summary, if we scroll down here, if you had attached a rubric to your assignment when you were creating your assignment, you would be able to use the rubric to grade the students by. In another video, we'll go over what rubrics are and how you can assign them and the different options that are available to you. We're going to skip this for now. Down here, this is the similarity index, so this is the bread and butter of Turnitin.com. So as we click on this tool, you can see here there's a number of different options within the similarity tool. So over here, when I rest my cursor on this 8, this is the match overview for this paper, meaning this is what it has matched based on what I have set it up to look against. And I have set it up to look against the Turnitin.com paper repository, which means it's checking against other papers that have been submitted to Turnitin.com, as well as periodicals and web content. So right now it is only finding 8%, which is not a considerable amount. And most of these, just by quick glance, are probably just coincidence and not really considered to be plagiarism. You will note when you first open up a student's paper, the similarity index will have an indicator next to it with a dot, and the colored dot will indicate their standards in terms of acceptable similarity percentages. So green is considered, very good. It's a pretty low similarity index, and the other two colors they have are yellow and red. Red obviously being the higher amount of matches, and the higher the similarity index will be. So let's go back over to our paper and take a look at some of the other tools here. If you wanted to filter out any of if you did have a paper that had a big high similarity index and you wanted to maybe take a look at if there were any materials here that you should exclude, these were settings that were set up when we created the assignment. But if you didn't exclude these and you want to now, let's say for instance you didn't set it up to exclude quoted materials, and now quoted materials are going to be checked up against anything on the internet, and it's going to consider it plagiarism even though the student put it in quotes. If this was not checked off, I could check this off. If I wanted to exclude citations, bibliography, I would check this off. Do you want to exclude sources that are less than a certain number of words? So you can put a certain number of words. I had 5 when I originally created this. So any changes like these that you make and then apply will likely change the similarity index of papers. So I'm just going to click Apply Changes. And for this one, the match overview didn't really change. We'll go back over here. If we want to exclude all sources automatically, we can click on this tool over here. And if we click on all sources, this will give you a list view of everything that this paper has matched on. And if you hover on any of the matches in the paper, it will give you more information as to where this match came from or where it found it. We're going to move down now from these tools over here, the similarity index tools. There is an e-rater on here, which is going to automatically check for certain things that you set up when you set up your assignment. So it is going to flag for grammar. So anything that it considers grammatically incorrect, it will flag. You can see here I have that checked off. If I wanted to have it check off other options that I may not have set up in my paper, like mechanics, I can click on mechanics and it will then check this paper against anything that's incorrect in terms of these. And you can see here I had checked off usage, and there was one of these that it did find an error with here, an article error, which it indicates over here. So these are some other tools you have available as well. If you wanted to download the student's paper, either you wanted to get a digital receipt indicating when they submitted it, or you want a current view. If you want to get a PDF copy and maybe print a view with all the different changes and that feedback that you have put on here, you can do that by clicking current view, and that would print the paper with all of these different highlights as well as these little feedback comments that are on here. Or you could just download the originally submitted file that doesn't have any of that information here as well. I'm going to close this out here. If you needed submission information in terms of timestamp, how it was submitted, when it was submitted, how many words there are, the character count, word count, page count, you can get all of that data under that icon. That's the little eye icon over here. And the last tool that is available is the newest and latest release to Turnitin.com, which is the artificial intelligence writing detection. Now you can see here it is unavailable for this particular paper. Now, I did write this paper, or rather, artificial intelligence did write this paper for me, and I didn't get a score for this. And the reason for that is there are certain requirements in order for them to apply the artificial intelligence detection. One is that the paper has to be a minimum of 300 words and less than 15,000 words. So this paper is only 194 words, which is why artificial intelligence did not detect anything in this paper. So this is something to keep in mind if you are relying on artificial intelligence to pick up work that is not belong to the student. It may come up as empty and no detection will be available for it, and that usually indicates it just did not meet the criteria for it. So they have more information on their website about what the requirements are in order for AI detection to actually work on student papers. So this was a little rundown of all the different tools that you have available to you in the feedback studio once your students have submitted a paper through turnitin.com. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know.